Okay. I think this helps me to get to know you. That's it. This helps me to get to know you, and this also gives me an idea on what books to get you. What we're going to do for our activity is we're going to look at this book that you are excited about. And you can start off by just taking a look at some of the pages of the book. And we would take 5 minutes or so to take a look at the book.
Ooh, that was cool.
Okay, and apparently he wants to take the time to read it, so.
That's a cool jellyfish.
I'm just going to skip this through that. That's fine, you can look at it.
Excellent.
Okay, and as we go through this, I'm going to ask you, let's look at some of these words while we're looking through some of the pages.
Pesticides, pollutants.
Let's look. What do you notice have in common with these words, pesticides and pollutants?
They both have suffixes.
Okay.
And
What do you know about suffixes?
they come at the end of the word.
Good.
What else is there to know about that?
I don't know. You just tell me. I'm just picking at some things that have in common. What about landlocked? What can you tell me about that? We're looking for just word patterns. I'm looking for really basic skills. Seeing if you have anything.
I don't know what landlocked means.
Okay. How many syllables are in landlocked?
2.
Okay, let's go back here real quick. You didn't know what landlocked is? How would you figure out the meaning of landlocked?
Either context clues, but in this case it tells you what it is.
Isn't that a context clues?
I guess.
So the definition that follows it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, so what is landlocked?
Seas like the Mediterranean are among the most polluted, but coastal waters everywhere are affected. Obviously the Mediterranean is land. It's surrounded by land on all sides. The sea, the Mediterranean Sea, so it means it's surrounded on all sides.
Okay. You're a pretty good 4th grader.
I am. I'm pretty smart.
Okay, let me take a look and say if I had, you see this word? Come over here. See the way I'm framing it?
Which one? Boats?
Yes, boats. If I took the word boats and took the b out and put a k in.
Coats.
Okay, good. And if I took the b out and put in fl, what would I have?
Floats.
Okay.
And if you took the B out and put a G in there, it'd be goats.
Okay, good. And you can work with your student for a while, and you can go through and do that work study with them where they're going to practice that depending on how successful. Obviously, my student is a little bit more advanced since he's simulating a 4th grader. So if yours is struggling, do that word play, going through the sounds, going through the phonics as well after. So you do the phonemic awareness with the sounds, then go through the phonics with the letter substitution, and just kind of play around with that. You can also do some syllables with them, like this. Okay, how many syllables would be in this word expensive?
3.
Okay.
How do you count your syllables?
Well, there's a trick. If your student's having a hard time with it, you can teach them that by sitting their chin on their wrist, every time that their chin actually moves up and down, because the syllable is going to hit every time there's a vowel sound. Expensive. Every time that there's actually that motion, sometimes they'll clap it out, but that's not always going to be accurate. But it's every time that movement, that'll be more accurate for them. So you're going to go through and you're going to do a little bit of this phonics type of skill. We might go through and do, depending on where we're at with our time, we might go ahead and just do our little easy read just because I want to hear my reader read. So I have a little bit of an easy read here. Would you like to read a little bit of this passage for
You want me
me?
to read all this? I can read that.
Yeah, if you want to read it.
Or what do you want me to read?
Would you feel comfortable reading this?
These 2 paragraphs here?
Yes. And if you just have if this is easy for your student, you want to bring maybe some easy readers for them to be able to read. If this is too difficult, you might want to have a backup for them. Do you feel comfortable reading that?
Yeah. Do you want me to read it now?
Okay.
The world's oceans are always on the move. They travel in well-defined circular patterns called ocean currents. The currents flow like rivers carrying warm water from the tropics and cold water from the poles. Where two currents meet, the colder water sinks, pushing warmer water up to the surface. Beside the ocean currents, there is also a regular movement of the tides, twice a day, all around the world. The oceans rise and fall along the coastlines. Scientists do not fully understand how the tide works, but they know they are linked to the poles on the Earth by the moon and sun. The continual movement of the oceans is important to marine life. The tides and currents carry food from one part of the ocean to the other. They stir up the water and produce small bubbles of oxygen, which ocean animals need to breathe.
You did an awesome job. You're very smooth, you're quick, and you do really well. Can you tell me a little bit about what you just read in your own words? Tell me what you read.
Ocean waves are created by the ocean currents, which, well, it basically says it. And depending on cold and warm water is where cold water goes down while the warm water goes up, so the closer you're to the surface, the warmer the water is going to be, as opposed to farther you're down. And cold water comes from the poles, warm water is in the tropics.
Very good. Okay. So after your student does a reading, just see if they can tell you anything in their own words. Just it's a comprehension. And then as they're reading, just note in your anecdotal records any observations, if they're choppy, if they make an error, if they self-correct, anything like that. Okay, so we're going to do our little game. I'm not going to make my big fourth grader really play, but I just have a little game that we're going to introduce, and then you'll want to kind of close out. If you have any extra time at that point, then you can go back and do some extra get to know your activities. But okay, so we're going to talk about main idea. And what I think about main idea is most important. Why do you think I think main idea and most important? What do you see in common with that?
MI.
MI, yeah, main idea and most important. So the most important, or the main idea of your passage, is really what the most important information is of your passage. So that's, I want to practice some of this with you. All right, so we're going to look at this paragraph. We're going to read this, and then we're going to think, what would be the most important or the main idea sentence? So we're going to find a sentence in here that we think is the main idea sentence. And I'm going to do one of these with you. Actually, I'm going to show you. And then we're going to do one of these together. And then we're going to see if you can do some of these on your own. But if you need some help along the way, then we're going to do a couple of these together.
Okay,
and so, I won't spend the time showing you all that, but you can just practice your skill, you'll model it, you'll guide as long as it takes, then independent. Make sure that your assessment will be noted in your records for observation, and you can go back, reinforce in your book if that's what you want. But that's an idea on a lesson that you can do with your student. And if you have extra time at the end, go to your book and do a few more of these assessments out of here. Record them on a separate piece of paper for your own records. What I think I found on here is there wasn't a whole lot of information that I got out initially, except for I did find out that about sports. I found out a little bit about where his favorite subjects were, and I would have liked to have asked a little bit more about maybe some hobbies. Some different areas might have helped me. Maybe some time where he could have just told me some individual things like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Maybe some interesting things about his family. And so I wasn't able to get into that, but that would be really helpful for me to know, to be able to help him find books that would be interesting for him. So I hope that helps. And thank you, my tall fourth grader.
I'm the second tallest in my class.
You're the second tallest in your class. All right.